On a fateful day in the history of the United States, an event occurred that shook the nation to its core and left an enduring imprint on the collective memory: the burning of the White House by the British in 1814. But how did they reach this point? What motivated the British forces to carry out such a direct act of aggression against the American capital? To fully comprehend the impact of this historical event, we must explore the tense and complex geopolitical landscape of the time. At the height of tensions between the United States and Great Britain, the War of 1812 erupted like a volcano of discontent, fueled by a series of factors. Territorial disputes, trade blockades, and maritime conflicts acted as sparks that inflamed the already tense relations between the two nations. The commercial blockades imposed by Great Britain were one of the main causes of resentment on the part of the United States. As part of its measures to restrict French trade during the Napoleonic Wars, the British imposed a naval blockade on Europe, including American ports. In addition to this measure, they intervened in trade in other ways, such as apprehending ships and confiscating their cargoes. This had a devastating impact on the economy of the young nation, which depended heavily on maritime trade. The measure was seen as a violation of the neutrality rights of the U.S., and a direct provocation that increased hostility between the two countries. One of the most serious issues was the practice of impressment, which involved the forced capture of American sailors, including those who were formerly British subjects but had acquired American citizenship, to serve in the Royal Navy. The British claimed the right to reclaim their deserters, including American citizens who had previously served in the Royal Navy. However, often this practice led to the impressment of men who had never been subjects of the Crown, which was considered a flagrant violation of sovereignty and the rights of the United States. These incidents, known as impressment and violations of freedom of the seas, fueled anti-British sentiment and contributed to the decision to declare war. One of the most controversial issues was the delimitation of the border between the United States and the British territory known as Canada in North America, which was not clearly defined. Both claimed areas in the Northwest region, leading to frequent conflicts between settlers and local authorities. These territorial disputes exacerbated tensions and contributed to the increase in hostility that would eventually lead to armed conflict. After the territorial disputes between the United States and Canada under British rule, the Americans attempted to invade the territory and expel the British occupants from North America. They saw the invasion as a way to consolidate their sovereignty in the region and weaken Britain's dominance. However, this action encountered resistance from the Canadians, who were loyal to the Crown. The invasion of Canada, a significant aspect of the War of 1812, contributed to intensifying hostilities between the United States and Great Britain in North America. After these initial invasion attempts, the Americans continued their attacks on Canadian territory. One of the most notable events was the attack and burning of York, now Toronto, in April 1813. During this attack, American forces looted and set fire to the city, causing considerable destruction. However, the Canadians did not surrender easily to the invasion. Despite difficulties, local militias and British troops bravely resisted and managed to inflict significant casualties on the invaders. This event marked another episode in the conflict between the United States and Great Britain in North America, highlighting the fierce opposition of Canadians to the invasion and their determination to defend their territory and loyalty to the Crown. The heat of the conflict intensified when British forces launched bold raids along the east coast of North America, directly challenging the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the young nation. These raids not only represented military attacks, but also a direct provocation to American national pride. On August 24, 1814, British forces, led by Vice Admiral George Cockburn and Major General Robert Ross, carried out a bold and surprising attack on the nation's capital, Washington. In a lightning maneuver, the troops swiftly advanced towards the city, encountering little resistance along their way. The surprise and speed of the attack caught American authorities off guard, overwhelming them with the enemy's rapid offensive. As the troops approached the White House, the official residence of President James Madison, chaos and confusion engulfed the city. President Madison and his wife, Dolly Madison, were hastily evacuated as the city fell under temporary control of the British forces. Without showing any mercy or hesitation, the British soldiers, imbued with a destructive fervor, set fire to the iconic building. The flames roared voraciously, devouring the wooden and brick structures, enveloping the presidential residence in a blazing inferno. Black smoke rose towards the sky, obscuring the sun and filling the air with a pungent and suffocating odor. The glow of the fire illuminated the horizon, casting an ominous shadow over the city, while terrified citizens watched helplessly as a part of their history and national pride was consumed in flames. During the attack on Washington in 1814, a sudden and fierce storm, known as the Storm That Saved Washington, struck the city, providing unexpected relief to the Americans as they struggled to contain the fire unleashed by the troops. This tempest not only extinguished some of the flames devouring the White House and other buildings, but also forced the British forces to retreat hastily, thus preventing even greater destruction. Although the storm played a crucial role in preserving some key buildings, such as the United States Marine Corps barracks near the Naval Arsenal, it is also important to acknowledge the brave resistance and swift defense action of the Americans amidst the chaos and confusion of the attack. During the devastating fire, French Minister Louis-Marie Turreau, who resided in the Octagon House, witnessed the tragedy engulfing the capital of the United States. Impacted by the magnitude of the disaster, Turreau uttered words that captured the mix of terror and awe he experienced at that moment. "I have never witnessed a more terrible and, at the same time, more magnificent spectacle." This phrase, imbued with the intensity of the moment, reflects the stunning beauty and brutal destruction that characterized the burning of the White House and its surroundings. However, the resistance and determination of American leaders and citizens soon became evident. Following the attack, British forces continued to advance towards Baltimore, but they encountered fierce opposition from the defenses in the Battle of Baltimore at Fort McHenry. During this battle, American defenses tenaciously resisted the ferocious attacks. The fort was protected by cannons and a well-trained garrison, which stood firm against the assaults. As the battle intensified, the British launched an intense bombardment on the fort, bombarding Fort McHenry with rockets and explosive projectiles during the night of September 13th. It was here that the famous U.S. national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, was inspired by the soldiers' brave resistance and the sight of the American flag waving over Fort McHenry despite the intense British bombardment. The diplomatic and political repercussions of the White House fire during the war were profound and long-lasting. After the attack on the American capital, tensions between the two countries reached a new level of intensity. The act of direct aggression against the center of government was seen as an affront to sovereignty and national dignity, further exacerbating resentment. In response to the fire, military and diplomatic efforts were intensified to defend territory and independence. Additionally, the incident served as a catalyst for the consolidation of nationalist sentiment, strengthening public support for the war and determination to resist foreign invasion. On the other hand, Britain was forced to reconsider its strategy in North America and to confront the growing opposition to the war in its own country. The end of the war was marked by the signing of the Treaty of Ghent on December 24, 1814, in the Belgian city of Ghent. This agreement restored the borders and territories prior to the conflict, putting an end to hostilities between the United States and Great Britain. Although battles continued even after the treaty was signed due to the slow communication of the time, news of peace finally reached the United States in February 1815. This war, while not resulting in significant changes in borders, left an indelible mark on the relationship between both nations and on the history of North America. The reconstruction of the White House after the fire represented a monumental challenge that required a combination of engineering, architecture, and determination. After the devastation caused by the fire, immediate efforts were made to restore it to its original state. Expert architects and builders were summoned to oversee the process, which involved not only repairing structural damage, but also recreating the architectural and decorative details that made it an emblematic symbol of the nation. Shortages of building materials and a lack of adequate funds posed significant challenges during the process. Despite these obstacles, efforts continued with determination, and finally, in 1817, it was restored to its former glory, a lasting testament to national resilience and spirit. But beyond the fire and destruction, the burning of the White House resonated deeply in the nation's soul. It was a moment of humiliation and challenge for Americans, but also a moment of resilience and determination. Despite the devastation, the nation rose from the ashes, rebuilding the building and strengthening its determination to defend its sovereignty and freedom. Through adversity and hardship, the nation emerged stronger and more determined than ever.